Good day, viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul and Gavin have both boycotted me this morning, but fortunately our UK correspondent Stevie is joining me all the way from Vancouver in Canada. But we kick off as always with our post-net last one standing competition, and heading into week 15 we had 4 entries. Fortunately they all won, and they were all on Brentford, who beat Ipswich Town 1-0. The 4 guys that remain: Ken Moby, the only Liverpool supporter in the UK, while Dave Goss, Adam Murta and Marco Govia are all Man United supporters. Who can they choose? That's the key, with only 5 choices left. 4 of them can use Leicester and Ipswich Town, who play each other on Sunday. 4 can use Southampton, who are away at Everton. 2 can use West Ham, who are at home to Notts Forest, and 2 can use Crystal Palace, who are at home to Wolves on Tuesday. 1 can use Tottenham, who are away at Aston Villa on Friday. 1 can use Fulham, who are away at Brentford on Sunday. 1 can use Bournemouth, who are away at Man City on Tuesday, while 1 can use Wolves, who are at Crystal Palace on Tuesday. Guys, good luck. You've sent all your picks. Send me your choices as soon as we can, so at least we can get the PDF out. Stevie B, good morning. How's Vancouver?
Yeah, well, good evening for me.
Good evening.
Fine,
Oh,
it's going to be
yeah.
a little bit chillier and wetter than I left in the UK, but otherwise all good.
Chillier and wetter. Well, that's good news, seeing Paul and I are both away this evening. Steve, the championship, Sheffield United easily disposed of Bristol City, but Sunderland, Coventry, heartbreak for Frank Lampard's Coventry City.
Yeah, it sounded like it was definitely going to go to a penalty shootout, and that must be one of the latest goals to win a playoff at something like that, 114th minute, and it was a good header, but no one picked him up, and obviously the Mackhams went crazy, and they've got another Wembley date. Yeah,
Steve, who do you see winning it who do you see winning the final or getting promotion?
I think it's interesting because both those teams went off the boil towards the end.
Yes.
But Sheffield United put a couple of strong performances in, and I think they for most of the season they were looking like they could get automatic.
Yeah.
So I think Sheffield United should start as favourites, but Sunderland showed a sort of never say die attitude, and I think it'll be close. But for me, I think Chris Wilder team would just have the edge.
Yeah, I just think they're slightly better defensively, but I just hope there's an early goal, Steve. Otherwise, it's going to become 0-0. Don't get beaten and extra time and penalties. But I agree, of the sides, I think it would be justice as well. Sheffield United, they fought till 3 games to the end to get automatic, so they are the better side. But it's on the day. On to the Premiership for the weekend, and there are 2 games on Friday night. The Man United Tottenham Europa League final next Wednesday has forced the league to bring both games onto Friday night. First game up, Steve, Aston Villa Tottenham. How do you see it going?
On paper, you'd expect Villa to win comfortably. 2 reasons. One, they're desperate to win. They've got Champions League place in their sights. Tottenham, on the other hand, with a few players already out for next Wednesday injured, you can't see them risking many of their key players. And it's unless somehow sort of Villa really sort of think of it as a bit of a banana skin, I can't see anything other than a comfortable home win. Yeah,
I've got to agree. And I looked at the betting angle of this, and I dived straight in. It was 4-1, over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no. I think Aston Villa are going to come out fired up. I think they're going to win both halves at like 18-10. I just don't see a way that Tottenham really want to play. The youngsters will come out and have a go, but Villa are unbeaten in the last 17 home league games. And when you think they beat PSG and Bayern Munich at home, 4-10 has to be a good thing. The -1 handicap is even money. But it all points out to Aston Villa. Aston Villa to win to 0 is 18-10, another bet worth taking. But I'd wait for the teams. But to me, Aston Villa look an absolute shoo-in. Remember, guys, it is Friday night. Also Friday night is Chelsea Man United, Steve. I see a similar result here. I think Chelsea will destroy United.
Yeah, no, I think exactly the same situation. Chelsea, having sort of lost last weekend, desperate to get 3 points to stay in the Champions League hunt. And on the other hand, United, with that huge game for them on Wednesday, I can't see they're going to want to necessarily risk their key players. I mean, why would you play somebody, Bruno, and risk getting him injured? They're playing. But the crazy thing is, both those teams could go into the Europa final next week in 16th and 17th place, which is sort of quite bizarre that, in any league, you can't believe that two teams in that lower position could get to a European final. But, it's just the way it's worked out in recent weeks. Both teams have been shocking in the league, but they've actually performed exceptionally well in Europe.
Yeah, likewise. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no is 4-1. Chelsea to win both halves, 2-1. To win to 0, like 14-10. And I agree, Steve. I've been disappointed United the best at times, but I don't know. I just don't like what I see. And he's going to play Chido. He has to rest Højlund. And not that's a great change anyway, because I think Obi Chido, I think, is going to be a better player, but. Everyone's just got their eyes on next Wednesday, and I don't know, I just disappointed. And to be honest, I'm disgusted what I'm see coming out of Old Trafford. To think all those fans, Steve, they paid a lot of money to go and watch football, as you know, and to witness the garbage at Old Trafford and away from home that United are showing, I think it's terrible. Everton, Southampton, Steve, what a great and sad day it'll be at Goodison Park on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, very emotional. Obviously, it's been their home for a very long time. I can't see anything, again, other than an Everton home win. Southampton now have sort of, basically, they've sort of saved their season by getting that 12th point last weekend. They've got nothing really to play for. Everton, I think, are going to want to put on a bit of a show for their fans. Last home game at Goodison, and I would be amazed if it's anything other than a comfortable home win.
Yeah, Everton to win to 0 is 12-10. Likewise, Everton to win both halves is 22-10. I agree, Steve. A great little stadium. I have been to it. I know it's dilapidated, so the newer stadium, but I can't believe how Southampton, they cost me money last week. I know they drew 0-0 with Man City. They just parked 10 people in the box, and if I'm a Southampton fan, I didn't like, even though the point was acceptable, and you did break the hoodoo of not being the lowest points team, what I saw last week was shocking. I think they're going to have a go here, Steve. They've got nothing to let, I looked at Everton to win, both teams to score 23-10. I just hope for the Goodison faithful that Southampton come to have a go and not sit back. But for me, a comfortable Everton win. Big game on Sunday for me anyway is West Ham, Notts Forest. West Ham obviously beat a depleted or a garbage Man United last Sunday. Notts Forest, the pressures come on, Steve. That chairman, I thought that was terrible, him coming onto the pitch.
Oh, absolutely. There was no reason for it at all. Whatever he felt in his mind that felt justified to do it, to come on and start berating the Forest manager after the season they've had is quite ridiculous. So, he's copped a lot of flack for it, but he won't get sanctioned because ultimately he didn't do it and sort of remonstrate with the officials or anything like that. But it wasn't a good look. Look, Forest are wobbling. They had a good win a few weeks ago at Tottenham, but apart from that, they've struggled. Points dropped, certainly, and I think, they're going to look at this game and think that they've got to get a win because their last game is against Chelsea, which is could be a winner-take-all. So I think they'll have to they've got to go and attack. They're obviously Awoniyi, we know, was badly injured and has had a couple of operations since the weekend. He's now out for the rest of the season. I think that they could certainly get a point. I think West Ham, again, their last home game, I think they're going to want to put on a little bit of a show. They've been very disappointing this season. I don't think they'll make it easy for Forest. I can see this ending in a score draw.
Well, 1-1 is 6-1, so I think that's worthy of an interest. I think after what happened last week, a lot of frustration. But I watched West Ham. They've only won 3 of 16, Steve, and you have a look at the teams that they beat. I know two of them, Man United and Arsenal, were two of the better sides. But, I like him as a manager, but I just hope he has a go. I like the centre forward, the German Fulcrum. I like Bowen, but Now, those West Ham, they deserve a lot of an applause for me, because watching that garbage, and all he does, Potter, is make sure they don't get beat, so he doesn't get abuse. It's the last game at the Olympic Stadium. I hope they put on a show, but Nottingham Forest are going to have to go for it, Stephen. Of the two sides, I just got a funny feeling that Forest may sneak it. So that's, I'm hoping 15-10 Forest, but I won't be watching this game. The other game, Brentford-Fulham, Steve. I know a lot of bitter feelings between the two clubs. I remember you guys won an extra time to get promotion a few years ago. And is there a bad feeling between the two clubs?
There is, but it's sort of history. It tends to be more on their part than ours. Okay. I think sort of years ago we didn't really see them as rivals, and they just had a thing about us. But in recent years, obviously we've been in the same divisions, so we played them quite a few times. Yeah. And, we've really gone off the boil. I mean, 4 defeats in our last 5. Poor last week. Just it was a game that was there for the taking, and we just sort of lacked concentration. Brentford, on the other hand, find themselves in with a much better chance than us now of European football. I've just got a feeling that we've got a few injuries, but you can't make excuses. I just think that this could be another game where whatever's going on there at the club, they're just the last few weeks. Apart from that Liverpool game and the first half against Chelsea, apart from that, we've really been lacking. And I'd be very surprised if we get anything at all. I'd take a point now because Brentford, I think, are up for it, and they're on a good run. And I think for me, Brentford will start as favourites. Yeah,
8-10 was 8.5-10 this morning. Yeah, I just don't like local derbies. My suggestion, I'm going to go the bookings route. I think this will be a feisty affair, and over 3.5 bookings at 8.5-10 is my suggestion. On to our second page, Leicester City, Ipswich Town. Steve, now be careful what you say here, because several of the guys in last one standing will be listening to what you think here. Who do you fancy?
Well, the crazy thing is, I mean, after the most sort of appalling run, Leicester have sort of picked up in the last few games. A win against Southampton, a fighting point at Forest, and although whether or not it's going to be too late to save the season for Rude, because my understanding is that they're probably looking to change manager in the summer. On the other hand, for McKenna, which I suspect are going to back in the Championship. Again, away from home, they've been much stronger. It's at home where they've really struggled. Yeah. If I was going to pick a winner, I'd probably go for Leicester on the basis that they won their last home game. I think that they might try and go out fighting. Obviously, it's Jamie Vardy's last home game. Yeah. I think he'll probably want to put on a show. I fancy Leicester. I think there'll be goals. Ipswich normally tend to score away from home. Yeah. It's at home where they've struggled. So for me, maybe the odd goal in 3, possibly Leicester to win it. Yeah,
I like Leicester of the two sides. I agree that Jamie Vardy, he's 13-10 to score any time. I'm going to be having a dabble on that. I just think he's worth an interest. They'll be trying to make sure that he ends his career at Leicester with a goal. Ipswich, I agree, Steve. You just don't know what you're going to get with them. I've been so disappointed with them. But away from home, the pressure's off. They have a go. Totally agree on the goal situation. Of the two sides, I like Leicester. Really think 13-10 isn't a bad price. But I'm going to be taking 13-10. It's my main bet, Jamie Vardy to score any time. Arsenal, Newcastle, Steve. Newcastle, 3 games against Arsenal this season. They've won all 3. Can they make it 4 in a row?
I'm not sure they will. I've just got this feeling that, obviously, with the disappointment of sort of Europe now, I thought Arsenal played really well in the second half against Liverpool, and they just showed a little bit more sort of steel about them. When you think at 2-0, they could have just crumbled. I've got a feeling that they're looking at this game thinking they don't want to be caught for second place. Yeah. I've just got a feeling that they might just edge that one. I think Newcastle, even if they lose this, they're still, if they win next week, they're gonna get a Champions League place. So I think for me, I just fancy again. I think there'll be goals. But I just fancy Arsenal to edge it by 1. Yeah,
I've got to agree. But think nothing lost between these two teams, Steve. Just reading and going through the previous history, these are always feisty affairs. And over 4.5 bookings at even money is the way I'm going to go. But I agree, I like Arsenal of the two teams. Newcastle's last away game, they went to Aston Villa. and got cemented 4-1. But for me, of the two teams, I like Arsenal. Agree with you, the second half at Anfield, I thought they were actually going to go on and win it. But to fight back from 2-0 down, I don't know if Declan Rice is going to be available. If he's available, I will back them. If he's not, I'd rather go like Steve, the bookings and obviously the goals. Brighton, Liverpool, Steve. Some suggestions that a couple of Liverpool players are in Dubai on the beach. Is that right?
I'm not aware of that. I mean, that would be appalling if they are, just because they won the league. Yeah. They still have an obligation for other teams in the Premier League to put out their strongest available side.
Yeah.
So I would be disappointed if that was the case. I would find it hard to believe that unless they were injured and they weren't going to be available anyway.
Yeah.
Look, Brighton have slipped up a bit, but they had a good win last week, and they're sitting with an outside chance for European place if the teams around them slip up. So I think they'll give it a real go. Liverpool, can't afford to just sort of sit back and think that they're going to win this by right. I think they want to keep their season going, and end away with a win. So for me, I can see Brighton scoring. Yeah. I'd be surprised if they win though.
Yeah, Steve, I'm on the other side. I didn't like what I saw at Anfield with Trent Alexander. I think I understand the fans' frustration, but, for 20 years, it's not like he's going to Chelsea or Man United, or he's going to Real Madrid. Now, I know Liverpool didn't make a penny out of him, but they could have sold him in January for 20 million. I know it hasn't ended well, and he's kept quiet, and he's announced it last minute, and that's obviously riled a lot of fans. But I think a lot of the players looked like they were hurt, because if it's happened to Trent Alexander, it can happen to anybody. And for that reason, I fancy Brighton to cause an upset, Steve. He's not going to play Trent. He's going to play the youngster Connor Bradley. And if Matomo's out there, I think he's going to roast him. I can see an upset here. Just for that simple ring, they've won the league. Brighton are desperate. And I just didn't like what I saw last week. So I'm going to chance Brighton on Monday night to upset Liverpool. 2 games on Tuesday, obviously, because of the FA Cup final, which we'll discuss now. Crystal Palace Wolves, Steve. Great chance for Wolves to get a result here.
It is. I mean, I guess, the way, if you looked at their league form recently, I might have gone for Palace, but obviously they've got this huge game on Saturday, and win or lose, you just wonder whether or not they'll have a lot in the tank left. Wolves, disappointing result for them after the sort of run they'd had and the sort of winning manager of the month, and then to slip up at home to Brighton. I can see Wolves getting something, whether or not Palace, it could go either way. If Palace lose at the weekend, they can be fairly despondent, but want to finish on a high. If they win, they might be on a high, but on the other hand, with a bit of celebrating, it might not all be up for it. So, I think Wolves certainly will get something out of that game.
Yeah, I looked at Wolves to score 2 goals or over 1.5 goals at 18-10. Kuna and Co, they'll be looking to try and make an impression, especially the lights will be on them. I just think goals is the way to go. Crystal Palace have done great, but everything's, narrowed down to the cup final on Saturday. And for me, if they get beat, they'll drown their sorrows. If they win, they may have to put a reserve team in. But for me, I'm siding with Wolves. Crystal Palace, nothing to play for. The other game, Man City, Bournemouth. I think this is going to be a cracker, Steve. Man City still need points, to guarantee top 5, and Bournemouth aren't the easiest of opponents.
No, well, if you recall, Bournemouth obviously beat City in the reverse fixture. Look, the crazy thing is, nobody could have believed that City would not win at Southampton, let alone not score. We know that Southampton parked the bus, but Man City, they had enough chances. They could have scored, certainly towards the end. But this is the game they have to win. Whatever City do at the weekend in Cup, they have to get a result. Otherwise, they could, find themselves missing out on the Champions League place. I think they will win. I don't think it'll be pretty. I think Bournemouth are not the team they were a couple of months ago, but I think they'll make it tough for them. But I can see City winning this. Yeah,
I think the way Bournemouth play, they give chances, they give the ball away, and I expect like a 3-2, 2-1 City victory. They've got to get top Champions League top 5 Man City. You know, Pep's not a mug, but he's got good young players that I think can play Saturday and Tuesday. He may rest the Kovacic's and the older guys, Bernardo Silva's, and maybe De Bruyne as well. But he's got enough youth in the tank to get a result. I know the price of 5 to 10 is short, but Man City to score over 1.5 goals, which they always seem to do, is 5.5 to 10. So that would be the way I would go. But definitely goals in the Man City Bournemouth clash. Steve, I can't believe the FA Cup final, which is always a highlight for, especially in South Africa, was I think it was the first Saturday in May. I think it was years ago. Now it's the week before the league ends.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It was always, as you say, the highlight of the season. It was the week after the season ended, and here we are, it being played the week before, and somehow it's almost like they're trying to sort of devalue the competition.
Yeah.
But for the fans, it's still a big massive competition. You know, Palace have never won it. They've lost in 2 finals. They're going to want to try and go one better. City lost last year, but although a lot of City fans didn't turn up for the semi-final, obviously it's a sellout for the weekend. Yeah. So I'm expecting a good game. If you think of that game a few weeks ago at the Etihad, for the first half an hour, Palace 2-0 up, but inches away from being 3-0 up. Yeah. 3-0, you wonder whether or not City could have come back. And then all of a sudden, Kevin De Bruyne got hold of the game by the scruff of the neck and ended up 5-2.
Yeah.
I can't see that if Palace went 2 up this time, that they would be so open and let City back in it. I think it's got all the makings of a great game. Yeah. I think Palace have surprised everybody, and even last week when I think some people thought they might rest some of their key players, he played his strongest available side and they won convincingly at Tottenham. So City, on the other hand, he's got a bit of an issue, Pep, because the fans really want to win this. He wants to win it, but they've still got to have one eye on the Champions League, and therefore, what's more important for the owners of City than getting into the Champions League than winning an FA Cup, which they've won several times before. So I still think City will win it, but I think those are really good odds for Palace, because they can be a very difficult side to beat, and I've seen them close up a couple of times this season, and we've really struggled against them. They like to sit back, catch teams on the break. They're pretty physical. Yeah. I can see a few bookings. Depends, if the referee is going to clamp down or allow things to run, but they are a physical side, and I think they're going to want to ruffle a few feathers.
Yeah, I just think it has to be goals. I've watched, the first 20 minutes, City will dictate the play. They've got the experience, and Palace, 1 or 2 interceptions. They could catch them on the break. Only thing is, De Bruyne, last big game for Man City, or that's what it sounds like. You've got to fancy Man City. The destruction that the last hour where they put 5 goals, and it could have been more, past Palace, but you just never know. The centre-half guy is back, and it all looks like it's going to be a goal fest, Steve, and I hope it is. Somehow I don't think it's that way, But City only know to play one way. They've got all the experience. So they dictate the play. I think it'll be a humdinger, because Palace will sit and try and catch them. I'm going to back Palace to score 2 goals, 23 to 10. I think both teams to score 8 to 10 is a gift. But I hate to say it, but I think Man City could prove a bit too good for them. Steve, pressure time again. Need your best bet and value bet, please.
Yeah, so I'm going to go for Arsenal. I just think that this is a huge game. Even though they're going to get Champions League qualification, I think it would end up sort of in the eyes of a lot of fans as a poor season if they can't finish second. When they were challenging for so long. I think they'll win, and I think they'll guarantee second place. And for value, even though I think City are going to win, I think the Palace odds are very fair. Yeah. You think last year, I'm not sure what United were on, but
United were 8 to 1 last year.
Yeah, they worked out a way to win. I think Palace have got a better than even chance. But as you say, if City get hold of the game early and score early, then I think it could be a different game. But if Palace get that early goal, I think it could be a tough game for them.
Yeah,
but I just, as you say, it is a big game still, the FA Cup, and I hope that it's as a neutral that there are goals and it's exciting.
Yeah. Totally agree. I was going to go, I looked at the Premiership, I looked at Arsenal, I looked at a few teams. I ended up in Spain, Steve, 8.5 to 10 Atletico Madrid to beat Real Betis. They're a good team. They want to finish as high. I watched Real Madrid last night. They are garbage. Atletico Madrid can score goals. I think they'll beat Real Betis. My value better went for Brighton, Steve. I just think something's not right at Liverpool. I didn't like what I saw with Trent. So it was 2-1. I looked this morning, it shortened a bit, 16, 17 to 10, which I think is an acceptable price. It is Monday, so hopefully, the odds will drift out. But I just got a funny feeling that trouble in the camp at Anfield. I just hope that they don't ridicule Trent when they hoist the trophy in the last game. But I didn't like what I saw. I understand the fans' frustration, as I said earlier. But to me, I'm going to chance Brighton. Everything to play for. And I think they'll give them a good game. Steve, thanks as always, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Remember, it's MLS, the American MLS. Well, you can witness it now. You're in Vancouver. It'll be Sweden or Norway, yeah?
Yeah, just before you go, though, I've just sort of thought your thoughts of Europa, obviously next
Wednesday.
Of
course, yes.
Before we sign off, but I'm trying to think of an all-English final, European final, that has actually been good. The last few that I can remember watching.
Man United, Chelsea.
To cancel each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, Liverpool, Tottenham in the Champions League was poor. There just seemed to be a number of them. Even going back many years ago, Tottenham Wolves in the UEFA Cup.
Fairs Cup,
Fairs Cup, 2 legs. They're just something they cancel itself, and I hope it's a good game. Let's hope there's goals. For the winner, it's incredible. One of those teams is going to finish 17th in the Premier League, but could end up in the Champions League with everything that goes with it. And for the other, though, there's nothing. There's no second place. It's winner takes all in this, and it's such a huge game for both managers. Yeah. And you wonder whether or not both or either of them could survive necessarily. Yeah. I think Ruben Amorim, by the sounds of it, probably will, because I guess they'll give him more latitude because he joined earlier than he really wanted to. But for Ange, I think if Tottenham lose this and finish whatever 16th or 17th, it would be arguably one of their worst seasons in history. Then you wonder how he can survive.
I think Ange is gone. That's my opinion. The fans are up against it. I was at when they beat Liverpool 2-1 last season. I was at the game with Paul, and the fans were over the moon. When I was at the Tottenham Arsenal game earlier on, they lost 1-0, but you can feel the fans, they've accepted it, but tactically he's been proven. I wouldn't say a fraud, but he hasn't changed. And Amorim as well, Steve. This 3-2, 4-3, whatever, it doesn't work. What is he going to do? Both teams play out from the back. One of them's going to get caught. Now, do you change it? I hope United change it. Start off first 20 minutes. Let's sling the ball up to Højlund and go from there. But if they're going to start playing out from the back, no, we're in trouble. And if I was having a bet on it, Steve, I'd back Spurs to score first. I think it was 8 to 10. By the way, who you on? Be careful of your answer. Who you on?
I just think that the way that they've shown in their last couple of rounds, personally, I think United might just edge it. They just, against Lyon, where they could easily have gone out, and against Bilbao, when you thought on paper this was going to be a really tough game, and I think they surprised everybody and actually played really well in those games. But having said that, Tottenham did really well as well in games that I think people thought they would struggle, like sort of Frankfurt particularly. Yeah. But City, as a neutral, I hope it's a good game and there are goals, and for other countries to be watching it with envy that we've got 2 English teams in the final.
Yeah, well, Paul will be there. I can't say good luck. I fancy Spurs are the 2 teams. I think player for player they are better. They have more goal scoring threats than United, and a lot of my mates are going to it from up north, Preston and Chorley. They'll be at the game, but for me, I don't believe United deserve it. I know Tottenham don't either. I'd love a trophy for Ange, but obviously United's where my heart is. But I agree, Steve. Let's hope it's a 3-2 thriller, but somehow I doubt it, you know.
I've found so I shall be it's a midday kickoff here in Vancouver.
Oh, you'll be enjoying it.
I've got somewhere to go and watch it, so I shall look forward to that.
All right, Steve. Thanks again, and we'll speak over the weekend.
Pleasure.
UK.
Cheers, Bye.
Thanks, Steve. UK correspondent Stevie Braham. On to PSL. Couple of games at midweek. Pirates beat Golden Arrows 3-0, and Sundowns eventually clinched the league, beating Chipper United 3-0 as well. So congratulations to the Brazilians, and let's hope they can bring the CAF Champions League back to Pretoria. On to the weekend's fixtures, and they're all Saturday, 3 o'clock, and Maruma Gallants up against Chipper United. I watched the game last night. They're struggling to score goals, Chipper United. Get the ball wide, whip it in. I like Maruma Gallants. They're unbeaten in 5. They're out of Bloemfontein, hard to beat up there. Just worried about Chipper. They struggle to score. Their last 5 away games, they haven't scored away from home, and I doubt it. So 12-10 is short on Maruma Gallants, but of the two teams, that's the guys I would go for. Orlando Pirates, TS Galaxy, great win on Tuesday night. Obviously hardship to all the Buccaneers fans for losing the final 2-1 to Chiefs. TS Galaxy, in and out team. They've only won 1 of their last 6. Big game for them at Orlando Stadium, but got to fancy Orlando Pirates. 5-10 is short, but they should still be too good. Polokwane against Cape Town City. Big game for Cape Town City. They've got to get the 3 points here. They're in the relegation playoff spot. My concern for them, they haven't won in 13. Should never have got rid of Eric Tinkler, in my opinion. I don't know what happened. While in their last 8 away league games, they've only scored 1 goal. Polokwane as well, don't score many goals, but of the two sides, you've got to fancy Polokwane, but win and draw Polokwane for me. Richards Bay, Golden Arrows. This game's been played in Umlazi, KZN Derby. I watched Golden Arrows. They had a go against Pirates, but they eventually got caught. Just above the relegation playoff game, and if ever a game this weekend could end up 0-0, it's this particular game. A draw looks the right way to go, but if you fancy a bit of a price boost, 0-0 is 5-1. But Richards Bay, obviously, in Umlazi, hard to beat. 1-5, drew 1 of their last 6, but I think this has got 0-0 written all over it. A final 3 fixtures, Sekhukhune against Kaizer Chiefs. I didn't realize that it was Kaizer Chiefs' first trophy in 10 years. I thought it had been over 5, but 10 years. So good luck to the Amakosi fans. Several of the guys I know, they're still walking around in cloud 9. How they perform, I don't know. Sekhukune's Eric Tinkler. I think he's a top manager. Of the two sides, I like Sekhukhune here. I just think Chiefs will be celebrating, but they've got to get in the top 8. They're sitting in 9, so it won't be a total mismatch, but of the two sides, I can't trust Chiefs. The Cup, they did great, beating Sundowns and Pirates, but of the two sides here, I like Sekhukhune. Stellenbosch against Supersport. Supersport have come right the last few games. They're unbeaten in 4, but I like the look of Stellenbosch here. Even money at the Donny Craven Stadium in the Cape. I think that's a good bet against Supersport. And Sundowns, league winners, what are they going to do? They play the CAF Championship against Pyramids in 2 weeks' time. Are they going to play their guys today? And they'll just say this Saturday or rest them? I don't know. The league's been over for ages. So I know they celebrated last night, but I'd hate to be in Magezi's change room because this game at Loftus could be a total harding. Over 3.5 goals at 8-10 is definitely the way to go for me there. On to our soccer exotics for the weekend, and the first one is on Saturday. It's the PSL 1. I'm going Maruma Gallants, win and draw against Chipper United, bankering Orlando Pirates to beat TS Galaxy, Polokwane City to avoid defeat at home against Cape Town City, the field in the Richards Bay Golden Arrows and Sekhukhune United versus Kaizer Chiefs fixtures, and I fancy Stellenbosch to beat Supersport 2-1-6. The second soccer 6 is a Sunday one. I'm going the field in the West Ham United Notts Forest game. Brentford win and draw at home against Fulham. The field in the Belgium clash between KV Mechelen and Sporting Charleroi. I'm going for Leicester City to be too good at home for Ipswich Town. I don't see Arsenal losing at home against Newcastle United, and the champions Mamelodi Sundowns to beat Magezi 2-1-6. On to the soccer 10. This is a Saturday one. I'm going Maruma Gallants win and draw at home against Chippa United. Orlando Pirates to be too good at home for TS Galaxy. Polokwane City to avoid defeat at home against Cape Town City. Alongside Richards Bay, win and draw at home against Golden Arrows. And I'm going for Sekhukhune United to avoid defeat against Kaizer Chiefs. Onto the second page, I'm bankering Stellenbosch to beat Supersport United. Going for Wolfsburg to avoid defeat at Borussia Mönchengladbach, as well as Eintracht Frankfurt to avoid defeat at Freiburg. Going for Champions Bayern Munich to win at Hoffenheim, and Bayer Leverkusen win and draw at Mainz, 256. On to our Soccer 13, and this is a Saturday one, so it's a bit of a licorice all sorts pool. I'm going Man City win and draw against Crystal Palace. Bankering Lille to beat Reims. Strasbourg to beat Le Havre. St. Etienne win and draw at home against Toulouse. Benfica win and draw at home against Sporting Braga. Sporting Lisbon to be too good at home against Vitória Guimarães. And Saint Gilloise win and draw at Antwerp. On to the second page, I'm going for Torslanda win and draw at Hasselholmes. Bankering Jan Kopping Sodra to be too good at home against FC Rosengard. And Lujinskiel win to be too good at home for Lunds BK. Carlsberg win and draw at home against Gefle. Chancing IFK Hanninga to be too good for Stockton. And Inter Turku win and draw against Tampereen Eels, 256. Our budgies bets on the weekend, and we are limited. So the first one, I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no. So that's 3-0, 4-0 victory. It's a Friday game, and I couldn't believe the price. The two games are Aston Villa, Tottenham, and Chelsea, Man United. I'm backing both those teams to win 3-0, 4-0. I just don't see the desire in United and Tottenham with a cup final. Couldn't believe the price, 23-1, so 4,600 to 200. My Premiership quad, I'm going Leicester City to beat Ipswich. Then over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes. In the Arsenal Newcastle, Brentford Fulham, and Brighton Liverpool games, 2,600 to 200. My team goals only, all these teams to score over 1.5 goals. I'm going for Arsenal, Leicester City, Man City, and Wolves, 3,200 to 200. On to Spain, I'm going Atletico Madrid to beat Real Betis, chancing Real Sociedad to beat Girona, and both teams to score in the Real Valladolid Alaves, Sevilla, Real Madrid matches, 2,700 to 200. Another bet in Italy, I'm going for Cesc Fabregas's Como to be too good away from home against Hellas Verona. Going for Inter Milan to beat Lazio and over 2.5 total goals, and Napoli to win 2-0 against Parma, 2,300 to 200. And my Collis King 6 or Nixa, I'm going Everton to beat Southampton, Leicester to beat Ipswich Town, Atletico Madrid to beat Real Betis, Barcelona to beat Villarreal, Inter Milan to beat Lazio, and Napoli to beat Parma, 4,600 to 200. Thank you for listening, and please remember, guys, to stay on side.